What's up, everybody? Welcome to Love's Kitchen ATL. I am your favorite sous chef, Charlton Rhodes, licensed mental health therapist. Did you know that Tyler Perry has produced over 50 movies, but out of all those, only two have resulted in a sequel? The first was Boo, a Medea's Halloween, and the second was Why Did I Get Married? There's been so many clients that have come to therapy to talk about feelings surrounding the decision to get married. It can be scary, it can be frightening, and it can be terrifying. Today, we're going to talk to a couple who've made the decision to get married and answer the question, why did they get married, and what's that experience been like since then?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everyone. Love's Kitchen ATL. Today, I have two wonderful guests with me. I'm very honored to have Mr. and Mrs. Rollins, Courtney and Michelle. Welcome to the conversation. How are you all doing today?
Doing great. I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing great too. I'm glad we had a little time to chit chat before, but there's some questions that I wanted to get some insight from you all as you're a newly married couple. So congratulations within the last year. Congratulations. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So welcome again. The first question that I want to jump right into it, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So talking about motivation. When you look at your decision to marry your spouse specifically, whoever wants to go first, what would be your motivation that you could share with the community on why you chose to marry your spouse?
Yeah, that's good. I'll let you go first, babe.
For me, really, Michelle and I, when we're together, there's so much for me like peace.
Okay.
It feels like just a great space for foundation and all, where I can build and grow. I know she believes in me.
Yeah.
She's Michelle, she's such a patient and calm and kind, but also real person.
Yeah.
She she can get quick, fast, and all that stuff. But she's got such a great self-awareness. I'm sure it comes from your practice. She's a therapist and counselor. So a lot of the tools I imagine that she shares with folks that she speaks to and clients, it seems like she really embodies those. So I've like being able to, if she gets upset or challenged or whatever, like to be able to see, okay, this is what's going on with me, that she's able to communicate with. And that's just a great space. So you feel comfortable being able to make mistakes and being able to, all grow. So and also she's gorgeous and beautiful and just we can laugh too. So
that's it.
This is a woman that I can do all these things with. In real talk, it also felt, it still feels like it's like a piece that, when I say peace, I mean PIECE, that has to be a part of my life. That's like, okay, this is where I can be one of the best Courtneys I can be for whatever our purpose is in this life and whatever purpose God's given me. It feels real, slightly beyond me, even though I do make the choice every day. She makes the choice every day to be with me. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So those things, did they stand out to you compared to maybe prior relationships? Were those the main things that was the difference makers that set her apart? You mentioned peace.
That's a great question. I thank God for all those relationships, because those are opportunities for me to find what worked, what didn't work, and what I was bringing to the table, what I was expecting. And it's funny because I'm like, in some past relationships, even though I tried not to, I tried to make people fit in a certain box, or even at times, I'm a different type of person. I mean, we all are different, but
I got you.
At times where I felt like I was like, oh man, I'm trying to fit in a certain box and just not clicking. And so being able to be myself is so important, while also knowing that, hey, it's not really necessarily about seeking that movie style love or happiness, even though I know we have those, those times, those special moments. It's like, I'm here to serve, and as a byproduct, I get to be happy and be with somebody who can build with. So it's like a sacred love where I get to practice being something bigger than just this personality, this Courtney that's gonna go away one day in the future. How do I be connected to eternal things, like what God has me here and be so purposes, make sure she's good to go as best as I can, and accepting her for who she is as best as I can is something I get to practice every day, and she makes it easy to practice. So yeah,
that's
people,
refreshing.
thank you for folks in the past for that. So yeah, it helped me highlight some things like, oh yeah, that's not what I want, and that's what I want.
That's refreshing to hear. And in the future, I may get a group of men together because all of these perspectives, they're very encouraging. There's a lot of people who are on the fence about this marriage decision.
Yeah.
Right.
But hearing like you're selling it literally, you're telling people like, hey, it's worth this investment, it's worth that sacrifice.
Yeah.
But I'll also let you respond, Courtney. What was your motivation for choosing? Well, Michelle,
Yeah,
what
I
was
got
your motivation for choosing him?
Yeah, it's easy to love him. So he's like really energetic. He's like a light to wherever he goes. He's more extroverted too. So I'm really big on being like your full self. I'm really spiritual. And I felt like we complemented each other. So he could be his extroverted self. And I felt comfortable with him doing that. And I could be my introverted self.
All
and
right.
I don't have a lot of pressure at all. And that makes you feel comfortable. So being comfortable, having peace. Peace is really what I got from him too. I didn't have that with other people I've dated, just to be quite frank. I always felt like I had to perform a bit.
Really?
Like I had to kind of fit into the box, kind of what you said, fit into the box that they had me in. Like Michelle, the therapist, Michelle is supposed to be level-headed, Michelle that went to UNC, like I like the Tar Heels, like I had to fit into all of these. And with him, it was just like, oh, that's Michelle. She's quiet today. Nothing's wrong with her. Let me let her chill. She's fine. And that means a lot to me. So he gave me my space. And I was able to be complimentary to him. I'm naturally like a giver and I'm affectionate, but he made me feel like I could be that way. So before I didn't feel like I could be vulnerable enough to operate. I know everybody's talking about like their soft girl.
Yeah, that's the new trend.
And I get what they're saying. So it's just like, finally, you can just exhale. Like you can breathe and you feel like, wow, this person loves me for me. And I don't have to put on any airs. I could be my goofy self. I could be quiet. And it's all good. That's what they love about you. Those things in which you've been kind of trying to hide from other people. So that was my motivation.
That's awesome. And you both made reference to your career path because that's how I connected with you, just online as a therapist. I just kind of started building my page out, and being a therapist is a very interesting career choice because it comes with certain stereotypes maybe. So we can go into that when it comes to dating and now being married to a therapist. Courtney, what's that experience like? Because that's a profession that very unique person has to fit into that role to be that partner for her.
Well, it's a good thing. It seems like she's like a physician healed herself. Like I said, she seems like she takes the tools, and maybe some counselors who like, I don't know if they hear what they're saying, if they're actually incorporating themselves. But as I said earlier, she seems like she really has those strong communication tools and strong self-awareness tools. I think it reflects in her, spiritual relationship with God and how that shows up. But it's been a really cool, wonderful thing to me. Yeah.
Did it ever make you uncomfortable at any point? Even in the beginning, maybe did it ever just feel like? Do you ever feel like you're being analyzed? Because that's something that I've heard myself sometimes. It's like when you start asking questions, like, "How are you doing?" Like, what are you really trying to say?
Right.
Not be honest, not really, because I think I'm a very communicative type person too.
All right, good.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really connect to therapy, but that may be those like, okay, because I wake up pretty early, so I go to sleep pretty early as well. Right. There may be those occasional like big questions, like right when I'm about to sleep. Like, what the world? Like what?
Right.
Yeah, baby. So, I don't know if that's related to therapy or just the nature of just like we accomplish you night owl and I'm the early bird. And
that's right.
Thoughtful questions in the middle of the night.
That's cool. Yep. So on the other side, for you, Michelle, being a therapist, like, what's this journey like now? Being married, even through the dating process, how do you work all this stuff out with your profession and bringing it home to your relationship?
Yes, I have to be able to turn it off. And so when I say that, like I'm always assessing and analyzing and trying to figure things out when I meet with my clients, and sometimes with my friends. And yes, you want to get information from your partner, but you don't want to make them feel as if they're like a subject matter, like a research project. And I had to get through that. So a part of that narrative is that yes, people think you're trying to analyze them, but also we're kind of playing into that script, like we're fitting that role and kind of asking questions in that way.
Yeah.
And then with him, I didn't do that. Like, so I was really honest about my occupation. I was really honest about how the occupation kind of fit into my life and my family roles. And so because he understood that, again, gave me that peace and I felt comfortable, I didn't feel like I had to put on my therapy hat. Now, the flip side of that, like coping skills, I worked a lot on myself. Like I went through kind of like sort of a period of solitude for like 3 or 4 years at one point. So I really worked on myself and just got to know like what I needed, what that looked like. And I implemented good boundaries with guys. So like literally after that moment or that period of time, I was just no nonsense. I wasn't going to put up with it. And I knew that I deserved to be in a good relationship. And I think that allowed me to meet him and to show up in a space that was safe and create and continue to cultivate a safe space.
That's awesome. Yeah. So when we look at information next, the information that you had prior to getting married for both of you, what did you think you knew about marriage prior to versus, even though it's still fairly new, you're in your first year, what has been different, if anything, versus what you thought the information that you had going in?
That's a good question. We really did a lot of work, premarital work. So we did like marriage counseling with like through the church. And we also hired like a professional, like a mental health therapist too, and did like couples therapy. So we did both of those things. So we developed like a family mission. We talked about building our foundation on agreement, what that looked like for both of us.
All right.
And so we kind of had already did the work when, before we got married. So after marriage, it's been pretty much the same for me, other than the fact that, wow, we are married.
Yeah.
Like, this is like real. Yeah. But in a good way. But I just wake up, I'm like, wow, I'm like a wife. And, what does that mean for me today? And I have to recognize that it doesn't mean anything other than I continue to love the person that I'm with and we can respect one another. I think we've done a good job doing that. And we're very connected. That's another part of that. That we'll probably touch on a little bit later, but
okay,
that's the same. Yeah, I think the same thing for me. Because we have been so like intentional before and throughout. Like both of us are small business owners, and you got to have so much intention to run that a lot of that has to do with personal development. So I don't recognize that. Hey, I got to put that same amount of attention to the skill set that's required to be a healthy partner. So we're still, doing work and reading and listening and have our, family meetings every Sunday to list out what our goals are, treat it like, a really awesome spiritual business, which it really is. And so that's been, I think, very helpful.
That's awesome. So you put the work in on the front end and it didn't stop on wedding day. A lot of people do a couple sessions maybe prior to the wedding, but after that, then they're just off to their next checklist item.
Right. And that emotion, because emotions, it forms, everything fades. So you got to stay connected to what's eternal and stay connected to those. I mean, I ain't say what people got to do, but what's be helpful for us is like staying connected at those anchors and going back, because what you put your attention to grows. So just assuming that your marriage is just going to be great and that she's responsible for me being super happy all the time and vice versa is, I think, not necessarily a recipe for sustainable success. But like, hey, I got to choose every day and I got to accept right now who she is and she got to accept me and recognize there's so much beauty in that, the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes with it.
And also I can feel safe in like discomfort. So like it's not, I mean, most of the time we're good, like everything's great. And I can't even, I don't think we've had like a major argument. But anyway, we haven't had that. But times in which we are like I may get on his nerves or he's getting on my nerves,
Mm-hmm.
like I can really, again, rest in the fact that, oh, but he accepts me for who I am. So this moment will pass. And so it's
Right.
kind of like you can really explore your feelings with curiosity. Like, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And also, what does this mean moving forward? Which a lot of times, nothing. You just feeling this way.
Yeah.
You have a conversation
Right.
and move forward.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing so much because, and like I learned a lot from her. She don't even know she knows as much how she responds to things that come up or irritation to come up, and how she's able to just hold on to it and say, I can just be this now, that. And I realize sometimes I'm following a script that I've just been playing on for years. I'm like, wait a second, I'm not really upset right here. I'm just used to in this situation that I usually go to. And I'm like, wait, it's all good. Or, yeah, I am a little frustrated now, and that's just what it is and all. It's also good to not have to worry about when I'm driving, know where to park.
Yeah. You got a partner.
You get close to a car and stuff like that. That's
God, let me tell you, where's my Clemson? I'm joking. That's just drive.
That's what you do. The overturn ride.
That's right.
Like, all right.
Yeah. Well, let's look at how husband and wife complement each other. For example, there's some traits that I wrote about in the dating cookbook, and the things I'll just pull out, and you can add to these. But when it comes to men in particular, it's something that comes up as a consensus is respect. And tell me if you can, any example that you have around how she's shown that to you, if that's a very important thing for you to begin with, and if there's anything even more important than respect within this marriage that you come together. How would you speak on that, Courtney?
That's a great question. I consider myself a modern man, but I know and I'm sure respect is something I want even more than I can even name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just like you just said, as men, that's what we really, really want. There's a couple of things that she's done that just shows, like she was quick and eager to make sure her name changed. I mean, she worked hard to be
okay.
Dr.
All right.
Michelle.
So that was yeah.
She was like, "Yeah, I'm down at the DMV. I'm doing all this different type of stuff." And for me, it's like Act of Congress just mailing something off.
Yeah.
but I mean, to see her to be able to just go into action like that was like, wow, she wrote my name. That's what's up.
Oh, nice.
It still makes me feel good. That's I would say that. There's so many other things that she does. She just shows respect for me. Yeah.
Well, how does that sit with you, Michelle, when you think about showing him respect? Was that something that you felt came natural to you, or was it something that you had to maybe learn about over time in terms of how he needs it?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had to learn that over time. Just being a person that's really driven, kind of like the independent woman thing for Black women, that's a real narrative. So like sometimes you're your own boss, like it's hard to kind of turn those things off. And it's not that you're being disrespectful, but you're really not understanding the person and respecting the person like you should be doing. And so I had to work on that, like through various relationships that I was in, and when I just wasn't dating anybody. That moment or a time period of solitude is what I call it, when I had to work on that, just literally practicing how you talk to somebody, practicing what your response will be like, practicing saying things like, you know what, I'm not ready to talk about this yet, but can I just take a moment and we can come back to it, so you can make sure that you don't say something that you shouldn't say, because your words are really powerful. People always say that, oh, well, I didn't mean to say that, but it sticks with people. When you say stuff to them that's disrespectful, they remember that.
Yeah.
And so I have been very careful about not being disrespectful, very careful with my tone and even my body language, because it does continue to cultivate a place that's safe and we can be vulnerable. And I think, I've seen in my practice, what most women don't realize, it helps your relationship. So you don't have to do all of this. Like you can get rid of all of that baggage and like be you and operate in a safe space, and you really feel better. Your cortisol is better, lower, all of that.
Well, with the other trait that I want to pull out when it comes to security across the board for the ladies, when you flip it over for you being a wife now, describe what it looks like coming from Courtney in terms of your security within the relationship, however that shows up.
Yeah, security in a couple of ways. Security with like physical security. So like when we're out and about, I feel safe. Like he's paying attention to what's around us. Like he's taking back. Like he just got his eye on everything. And that whole, like I've seen some little Instagram reels where women are like oblivious to what's going on when they're with their that's real. Like you just kind of chilling because you feel protected. Like you feel like you're in a safe space. I remember one time we went to that comedy show and this crazy couple was in my space or whatever. But I've never seen him like literally he tapped the dude and was like, look, do you you need to move up or whatever. And I was just, he's just so nice. I'm more of like,
yeah, but he gets the job done.
Yeah.
While like, being nice.
Yes. So he has my back and I feel protected in general. Now, as far as security and finance, that's important to me too. He works really hard. He contributes. And a lot of times I have to remind myself, like, I don't have to do this by myself. Like, I'll be like, oh, I. But really, like, like, literally, I have access to his money. And so he's a leader in that aspect, too. And so that works well together. We did like a financial kind of analysis, and we have like our joint accounts and ventures. So I feel secure in that space, too. And that is important to me. The way I was raised, I grew up in a 2-parent household. My dad was a provider, like in terms of money. He wasn't really that emotionally supportive. My dad wasn't, but I think he's a boomer, so it's probably that generation.
Okay. Well, you mean supportive towards you or your mom?
Yeah, in general, he's just not like an emotional.
I got you. All right.
Makes sense. But with Courtney, I get that. So like he can be the provider, and also he can provide like that emotional support. Not like a woman either. And I want to say that too, because some women are looking for mirrors of themselves. And that's not how a relationship works at all. I mean, regardless of your sexuality or sexual preference.
Right. So I'll let you add to that, Courtney, this whole conversation around security. This is something I'm still learning myself, to be honest with you. Like that's a language that we may not speak the same way as women, but what have you learned so far?
Yeah, I've learned that that sometimes that may be the core, question that she maybe wanted to ask, like, hey, are you gonna be there? Are you there? Do you have my back and all? And so I when needed, I try to remember that and like the way I respond or show up and all. And particularly, when it comes to the physical and all stuff, I think she recognizes as that, and I definitely it's just have her back and all. When it comes to finances, it is something like for me that I got to remember that like if I feel any like insecurities behind that, it's based on wanting to show up and be secure and stuff. So, and that because the nature of my position, my job, my funds are like what do you call it? I'm in real estate, and so
all right.
It's like it's feast or I wouldn't say famine, but it's like big feast, and then it's like the times where I'm not sure exactly where this is going to come, but when it comes, it's going to be pretty large,
right?
And so me being able to recognize that when we're having conversations about finance, it's not a question, hey, what are you doing? It's a hey, what she wants to know what it may look like so she can feel secure. And I can't let like the ego that's there get in the way and feel like, oh my gosh, is she or am I questioning my ability to provide or do my part? It's like, no, we got to have a plan, and she wants to feel more secure. And that's what I'm saying to the internal monologue that comes to it. So that's
your book is like dead on. Like, your book is like spot on as far as like respect for men and then security for women. That is really that came up in our marital therapy. Remember a lot.
Came up marital. Almost everything I'm reading. I mean, it seems like that's what goes up to. Like those are like two of the common, like at the core, what the male is asking for, what by and large the woman is asking for.
And part of what I'm hoping to accomplish with these conversations in this community is to stimulate healthy conversations and positive, uplifting dialogue, showing regular people, every day-to-day people who are doing things that are in some people feel like the marriage entity in itself is starting to decline, the interest in it. starting to decline. The anxiety around it because of all of the information that we have that shows what goes wrong.
Right.
And with my book and all of these conversations is to show that we can respect our differences. We can be different, but still complement each other and still find ways where we are alike as well.
Yes.
And that's what's been. That's what's really been helpful to me. Or two really, well, I guess three things that really connect. The two structural things is like our Sunday family meeting.
All right.
We have right at the church, and we go over our three big rocks that connect to our big goals. Also, just remembering anytime it does get or feel a little challenging, just breathe in out and remembering our core values that we share, which is really easy to remember quite often. And then also, like when I leave the house or come back in, always sharing like a hug and a kiss, all something like that. And that just staying that physical touch and that connection. And I try to hold it for about 6 seconds long because that's like at least like, it ends up being longer. It's nice, but it's those like small type of things allow make the challenging conversations easier and make the just remembering what our core values more of a routine, and ensures that intimacy is like really there, and it's not rigid, but it's like hey, it's actually there. And some people may go through we forget to even like that y'all become just roommates and stuff.
Well, I want to talk about values, and just a quick little point that I make in therapy normally is when two people have a relationship, no matter whether it's family, friends, dating, business, like values have to line up, and there's compromise and sacrifice involved with that often. And then also what makes relationships challenging is that values can change over time.
Yes.
And what we used to care about 10 years ago may not matter today. 10 years from now, it might be different.
Right.
So when it comes to that conversation around what you mentioned, your core values are, what would you say in terms of how you discovered what matters to you today, and what skills maybe would you share? Do you have that will help you adapt to each other as times change?
Yeah, part of my core values is understanding that I'm so spiritual Christian. I believe that in Jesus Christ and the Trinity, like I believe in all of that. Yeah. And I do understand that things are operating that are out of my control. Like I literally it's a higher power operating that gives me peace, because I don't have to figure out everything. And Courtney and I share that. So it's a higher power. Awesome. Yeah. We feed that. We feel that we go to church on Sundays, but we pray together. He likes to read more often than me, but we read also to kind of feel that. So we're continuing again to fill our cup in that area, like in terms of core values. And you have to do the work with that. Also, family is really important to me. That is essential. So I literally talk to my mom like every day. I talk to my dad several times a week, and my grandmother. So family is essential. I see them often. Birthdays are important to me, and celebrating family too. So that is my core value. And that was for Courtney too. His looked a little different when it came to family. But I think we were able to come to an understanding and agreement about how we wanted our family to look. With core values.
Good.
Communication is really important to me too. And I want to make sure I'm not sounding like, because you can read some of these things like in a book, communication, your higher power.
Right. Yeah.
But really, when I say communication, I mean being intentional. Like when I wake up in the morning, he's more of a morning person than me, but little things like saying hello, like good morning, you look nice this morning. If he's leaving the house before me or getting ready before me, like you look handsome today. That's what I mean by communication. Like then to cultivate that connection has been important to us.
Thank you for pulling that out. Yeah. What were you going to add?
I think also setting aside. You got to work on yourself. So set aside time. Like every morning, I have like I get up pretty early, so it's easier. But I have like an hour just to myself, and I'm reading, writing in my journal, reading what I wrote at the end of the week, so I can reflect on that. Reflecting on like the way I want to show up in the world. And we're constantly putting those big goals in front of us on the Sunday and throughout the day. And those all looking at it so much gives you opportunity to recognize, okay, these are the important goals. What are we doing this week to get to them? And then sometimes those goals and that target change, so it allows us at least to adjust in that way. So yeah,
that's good. Expecting like literally our individuals. We're individuals, and right. I need my time just like he needs his. His looks different than mine. Like mine may look like just going out on a Saturday or something and just running errands is what we like to call it, shopping or whatever I want to do. But that's my time. Like for myself, I may get a massage or whatever, but we respect the fact that we're individuals functioning. We have individual needs as well. Spending time with friends outside of the relationship is really important too. And he's really connected with his friends. They do like video chat, Marco Polo and stuff like that.
Really?
So he's able to cultivate that side of him as well. So religion or spirituality, communication, family is really important to us, friends. And those are kind of like, that's our foundation. So we literally have a lot of similarities in those areas. And that's allowed us or afforded us opportunity to continue to build on that foundation.
One way to implement that, it seems like, is constantly working on developing that pause, being able to respond to my thoughts and my situations instead of react, because we are absolutely individuals, and my experience has brought me to who I am, and she's individual too. And at the same time, in the exact same breath, it's like, well, let me pause, man. Again, back to that eternal, like this challenge right here is going to go away. Even this great, happy, wonderful thing right here is going to go away. But at the core, God and spirit. So holding on to God and recognizing that, we get the opportunity to do this game called life. So don't take it for granted, and don't take it so serious too in a lot of ways. Like,
well, that I would consider that timeless values, what you just shared. Things that as life seasons change, you probably will always be able to hold on to those. It seems like it's deeply rooted in you. Before we go, I'll just kind of give this last question to both of you in terms of wisdom. When you think about the journey that you both had individually, from the moment that you thought to yourself, I want to be married one day, all the way up to this point where you're sitting in that seat, like, is there any wisdom on top of everything you shared from your individual journeys that you would share with someone who says they want to be where you are? What would you say would be the most important wisdom you would give them?
Yes, I have learned this, and from my practice too, seeing women that want to be married and having some deficits in that area. Nobody is perfect. So this whole idea of perfectionism does not exist.
Right.
So if you want a perfect man or partner, then you have to be willing to sacrifice, and you have to be intentional in that relationship.
All right.
And so if you're really selfish, it's not going to work, not for very long. So it has to be a level of unselfishness, and you can't like keep score, is what I'm saying. So like one day I may give like 80% because he may be off or something, and one day he may give 80% because I'm off or whatever. And that can look like picking up things around the house. That can look like communication. But you have to understand that it's not going to be like 50-50 like all the time. It's going to be give and take. And I've seen that with my parents, but actually doing the work and applying it in a relationship is difficult. And so people, they talk about, and some women talk about having these tools, but when it comes to application, you're not really applying these tools though. So I don't know what the disconnect is, but you're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to be unselfish and be willing to follow like somebody else. And that was important to me too. I don't know if I said that, but like I allowed him to take the lead. That's important to me. And when I say take the lead, I have like say in our decisions, obviously. But I trust him because he studies, he's wise, like he has a good career, he takes care of me. So it's easy for me to give him or allow him the opportunity to take the lead. That feels natural to me.
All right. Yeah, he's earned it, sounds like.
Yes. I think I can humbly say serve without expectation, serve without trying to feed I mean, your ego is always going to be there without like feeding the ego to the sense where, oh, I just gave her flowers, or I just did all this. I'm expecting her to have this reaction, or I just did all this, but not serve as a way of fulfilling purpose, and don't serve as seeking validation or seeking pleasure or seeking happiness.
Yeah.
But what's great about that is it seems like when I do serve, and those also often are byproducts, you know, the happiness, the prosperity, the joy and all. But serving seems like it gives the life meaning and gives our relationship meaning and all. So I think that's what I'm thinking on right now. Yes.
Yeah, and accept the person for who they are.
Yeah,
like you have an idea of who you might want to date, and then you're dating somebody that's not that.
Yeah.
And there's a gap between that, and then you're constantly trying to make this person somebody else. That's not the person. Like, so whatever they're giving you right then in that moment, that's what you need to accept. And I had to work on that.
Yeah,
I really did.
That's a great lesson to be able to constantly have too, because that's almost the whole lesson in life. It seems like, be able to. It is what it is. Glean the good and forgive all the rest, and that takes you on a higher level of connection, not bound to the past or anxiety towards the future. You can actually be empowered to operate in the right now, which creates your wonderful life. Yeah,
it's so much love and positivity and wisdom just jumping off you all. I feel it. It's beaming. And before we leave, what is next for your family, for your marriage? What's the future look like in the immediate future, maybe, or have you gotten anything in the works that you're thinking about doing next?
Yeah, we want to continue to get property. That's really important to us right now, like purchase property.
Gotcha.
And we want to be impactful, which is why we are really super blessed to be here today on your podcast.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, we want to spread the word, because I think, especially for Black people, I think that marriage sometimes people look at that differently now. It's really interesting to me how they look at marriage. And I think also Black people or African Americans need to understand the economic gain. It's a game. Like you gotta like know how to play this game of life. Right. And you're kind of like putting yourself at even more of a deficit if you don't understand like the legal, or that's not the word I'm looking for. Maybe legal, not legal. The benefits of marriage, like when
on the financial side, there's legal, tax benefits, all of that stuff comes into play.
So.
Those, maybe we got our big goals and all. We also got a lot of love to share. So we, expect our journey of parenthood to look however God wants it to look. We definitely looking forward to that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and then just keep on seeing like what's the next what the next goal is. But expansion of property, kingdom building, couple. Yeah. It's funny that you invited us to this, because this is like she was alluding to. We thought maybe it'd be the opportunity to share our story, and then maybe it absolutely gives opportunity to learn from others if we're open to share our journey. People may learn from us, and we're able to learn from others and keep those skills and competencies that are necessary right in front of us.
And timing matters, because Courtney and I actually met when we were in college, like undergrad.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Really?
Like a freshman, and you were going into your senior year, something like that. But we met like in undergrad, and we actually dated for a little bit, like a summer. So timing matters too. And I had to like really realize that too, like God's timing, that really matters. Like where you are mentally, what you have going on in your life, who you're connected to, all of those things matter. You need to be able to decipher, is this the time for that? Or is this my waiting period? Or am I planting a seed? Like, what does that look like? And people are not really taking enough time. Some people, I can't say people collectively, but some people are not taking enough time to really figure out what that means for them.
Well, that's part of the journey too, because I darn sure had relationships where it just didn't work, but I think all those have helped.
That's right. Yeah.
Right here. So
and also, I'm just, perfectionism. I work on that a lot in my therapy sessions with people. And even myself, like I'm not perfect. Like I make mistakes. Like I get upset sometimes. Like I haven't been perfect sometimes in past relationships. Like all of that is a part of my story. And so you don't have to put on and be something that you're not either. If you really want to have a healthy connection, in your with your partnership and friendships too. But you don't have to play into this script. Like you have the pen or the pencil.
That's right.
It's a write your script.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not being perfect. There's a little piece I'll add. When I'm in therapy, I talk about a healthy relationship with self, which is a connection of your mind, heart, and body.
Yes,
And
I love that.
the mindset is embracing imperfections, which is self-acceptance.
Right.
And then that triggers the emotion of self-love, like I'm worthy, I'm valuable, even though I have imperfections.
Right.
And with that love, that motivates behavior of self-care, where you show it to yourself. You prove what you feel or what you want to feel about who you are.
Yeah.
And then I show how a relationship will look based on that template. If you got two people that can say, I'm imperfect, and the other one can say, I'm imperfect too, but I still love you.
Yep.
I still love you too. And I'll show you in some small way and prove it. Not just tell you, but show it with my actions. Those relationships have the potential to last a long time.
Oh, I love that. Like I'm gonna use that, but I love it.
Versus the alternative, which is conditional, which says I'll love you if you do it right.
Right.
If you put quarters in the machine every day.
Right.
Like I don't want any parts of that. And that's it seems like that's what I've heard from both of you, like that acceptance model where we don't have to be anybody we're not. And I'll love you in spite of the imperfection.
Yes. And almost like I get excited sometimes about like things that are different or unique or some imperfections. Like that's what you have to like reframe and change your mindset to. Like, oh, that's exciting. I get to talk to my husband today. Or
Well, I wish you nothing but the best. Hopefully we might talk again in the future.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. Have a great night.
Thank you.
See you soon. See you soon. Bye.